You see, I can tell you all these incredible things. You know, your type and your variable and your profile and your cross and your this and your that. It's a fucking piece of paper. It's not life. It's just paper. The thing to understand about what it is to live this life and to live this life with your mind free is that you have to free it from controlling you. Aren't you sick and tired fighting over the details of this or that? It's not the point. You don't have to do anything. Honestly, you don't have to do anything. This is not about doing. It's not about making anything happen. Everything happens. It's the great irony. It's the great joke about life. You don't have to be concerned about your life. You have to see it. You have to be in it. You have to be alive. You have to be conscious. You have to be present. That's what matters. It's the only thing that matters.
Hey, what's up? I'm Desiree. Welcome to my YouTube channel where lately I've been talking about human design. This video is no exception. A little inside note that this is the second time that I'm recording this video because the first time I made this video I was like really angry.
Shut up and sit down.
And human design is not about saying this. It's the opposite of that. It's about understanding your individuality that you already are here. You already are an embodiment of that. Do you really need a whole bunch of information to tell you who you already are as your incarnated self? You don't, you know? And once you understand that and grasp that, you're never really going to be aware, you're just going to be either copy and pasting information or learning a bunch of information that you don't need to learn, or, just becoming like everybody else.
And as I was editing it, I was like, this is kind of foolish. People aren't going to take me serious because I know I have such a soft design. So anyway, I'm remaking this video to explain why you actually need human design or what human design is actually pointing you to, because if you just stumble upon human design and you think you have to like spend years and years and years understanding this information, you don't, because what human design is actually trying to point you to is something that exists within yourself because you already are yourself, or it is your being. So any kind of outside influence or any kind of outside knowledge is pretty much how homogenization and conditioning happens. So it gets really tricky when we're talking about not only deconditioning but specifically knowledge and information like human design. So in this video I just want to clear the air and kind of explain a little bit more about what you're seeing when you're watching my human design videos, because I'm not trying to be another copy and paste human design channel or fall into this niche or even be associated with the human design community, primarily because there's a lot of people teaching human design that shouldn't be teaching human design, or human design really has evolved into this homogenized conditioning way of being, primarily because of the way that the information is being taught and the way that humans have evolved, or the current way that we understand learning is by this like student teacher school model. Now I have the cross of education, so I'm not trying to like pick on this current way of education because this is kind of what we know. But in this process, when you have like student and you have when you have teacher and you have a whole bunch of students and you're just kind of giving them the information, which is what we're seeing in human design, YouTube, and in all facets of learning, so to speak. This is kind of the process that happens for like homogenization and conditioning, because what you're doing is you're trying to produce the same product, and in this process a lot of people are not really aware how to consciously learn. So what ends up happening is when you're exposing yourself to human design or any other knowledge that's like supposed to help you shed light onto who you really are, what ends up happening when you're coming across this information is you're putting this information as a primary source of your being. And what human design specifically, and there are other teachings out there too, like you don't have to have only the context of human design, but when you're coming across information or a teaching that's trying to teach you about yourself, you have to really be consciously aware that every information that you're coming across telling you about yourself is not going to be primary. And it's not going to be primary because you already are the embodiment of yourself. You already have been you since the day you were born, and you're going to be you since the day that you die. Me saying, oh, I'm a reflector, and then using that to justify some of my actions or to justify my way of being already is creating this conditioning within myself of saying, okay, human design is more important than what I actually am as an embodiment of myself. Because regardless of your type, regardless of your design, whatever it is that you're looking at when you're looking at your chart, you already are the embodiment of yourself. You're already here. But a lot of people don't really understand how important it is to be in that present moment, to actually come from that place of authenticity to say, I am me. This is why I don't do readings and I don't do chart analysis, and primarily that reason is because I know that the other person on the other end, there's a high potential that you're going to take what I say and hold that, like I said, as primary. You don't need a piece of paper and you don't need any other teaching to tell you about yourself or who you actually are, because you already are the embodiment of yourself. In order to actually get to this point to where you're authentic and operating and standing in alignment with who you are, it really is a place in awareness that precedes thought, that precedes language, that precedes, everything that we're kind of experiencing here. And Human Design Raw talks about this in Human Design Raw talks about this passenger consciousness and this awareness of, you're just here to watch the movie, play out, and you don't have to be concerned with your life. And this is the perspective and the awareness that Human Design is trying to teach you, or point you to. But the difficult part is, like I said, it precedes thought, it precedes language, it precedes knowledge. So that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, and to really explain what Human Design is actually pointing you to. And it's pointing you towards this experimenting with yourself to get to this understanding of yourself without having this outside influence of knowledge or information about what somebody else is saying. And this is really difficult. This is really hard for a person to do, especially when the only way that we know it, how we have evolved as human beings, is through this process of education, which through this process of education creates conditioning and homogenization. So even though you're studying and you're learning all this stuff about human design, you could really be doing more damage than doing good and becoming more conditioned. Quite frankly, me, like I said, I get all of my information from Ra Uru Hu, because there isn't anything that he says that I don't understand. And if somebody is teaching human design and they're not following this process, in my personal opinion, I feel like you shouldn't really be teaching human design. If you don't understand what Ra Uru Hu is saying, and you're watching something that Ra Uru Hu says and it really doesn't resonate with you, then you shouldn't be in the position to make up your own way of doing it and then giving it to somebody else, because in that process all you're really doing is creating more conditioning. And it's just not really helpful when we're talking about sharing this information to help people become aware of the embodiment of themselves, of who they already are. Here on my channel, you're just not going to see this homogenized way of teaching, even though I have the cross of education. I'm not just going to kind of copy and paste somebody else's YouTube video about human design because I want you to follow me, or because I want to make money. Don't get caught up in thinking that human design is the only one way, because once you start to see human design becoming cult-like, or this specific teaching, and saying, if you see anybody saying that this is the way that it has to be, then already you know that they're kind of coming from an unaware place. So you just have to be careful about who you're exposing yourself to with human design. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not driven by my ego with this, so I'm not gonna post videos consistently about this stuff and kind of copy and paste it just what somebody else is saying. That's not what you're gonna find here. Most of my information here that you find here on my YouTube channel, like I said, is audience driven, and I really try to focus on some of these principles and these concepts that Ra Uru Hu is talking about that aren't really registering in a person's brain and mind, and then take that to explain a little bit more about it. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What really matters is that you're taking what you learned about human design and you are experimenting with that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover in this video, in case you're feeling so overwhelmed with human design and thinking that you have to learn all of this stuff or follow the transits. You actually really don't, and doing that could potentially lead to more conditioning and unawareness, and actually prevent you from waking up. So just keep that in mind as you are watching all these other people in human design. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So until next time, bye.